The last 2 years, Florida has led the country in net in-migration into our state. You look at the states that have had the most net out-migration: California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey. What do all those states have in common? They're basically doing the same policies, and it's not just draconian COVID policies. It's bad tax and spend policies where they're just killing people with taxes. It's soft on crime policies where they were actually cut and slash funding for law enforcement. They will elect prosecutors in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles who say, we're not going to prosecute cases. You can go into a store and steal $999 in San Francisco, and they will not prosecute you if it's under $1,000. Well, that just causes crime to go through the roof. It hurts the economic base. They've got homeless all over these cities, and so the quality of life has gone down. They had school lockouts for a long, long time, and so people leave, and they fled these areas in record numbers. And so people vote with their feet. You know, during the height of COVID, you'd have all these other governors, you'd have big city mayors, you'd have people who were on cable TV hosts, and they were saying, oh, Florida, you know, they're doing it so wrong. They have kids in school, they have business open, they need to have more masking and lockdown and all this other stuff, and they'd criticize. But yet these same people, the first chance they got to leave their policies, where would they end up going? They all came to Florida. You'd find these governors, lockdown governors down in South Florida. You'd find mayors in these different places. You'd find CNN TV hosts in different places in Florida. And so to me, how people behave is the best evidence of what's going on. You know, you can have your political narrative, you can try to do this or that, but even our worst critics, when it came time for them to make the decisions about how they wanted to spend their time, Florida was the first place they wanted to come. They weren't staying away from Florida. And so that speaks for itself, and that's just the reality. One of the things, if you talk to people that moved to Florida in this more recent wave, and just understand, we've got a great state. I'm not begging anybody to come here. I mean, I think that we've got a lot of great people. My view is to take care of the folks who are here and make sure we've got good quality of life. But it's a free country, and people can go where they want to go. And so people come. And if you talk to different realtors, I think one of the things, yes, taxes, but, you know, we've always had lower taxes than a lot of these states. That's not anything new. Yes, escaping some of the COVID insanity for sure, but safety was a huge and is continue to be a huge issue because of the policies that they've done in these other parts of the country where they've really turned their back on law enforcement. And when you slash funding for police, when you don't support their efforts, that has a huge impact on how the streets are kept safe. And just understand, you know, a lot of the people who support those policies are more wealthy, cloistered people who don't suffer the consequences of defunding police because they've got their own security. So what do they care? In fact, San Francisco, they just recalled this prosecutor who was a total disaster, wouldn't prosecute. The city was going down the tubes. So they do a recall, and he was recalled in San Francisco, which is, you know, not exactly a conservative area, but he was recalled. The places that voted to keep him were all the more affluent, highly educated parts. The places that voted to kick him out were the more blue-collar, working-class places. And so why would that be? Well, because those are the people that are suffering the brunt of these policies. And so when you turn your back on law enforcement, when you don't support safe communities, that has a disproportionate impact on people who are lower or middle income. It has a disproportionate impact on single moms. It has a disproportionate impact on more underprivileged communities. And so it's a terrible policy, and we in Florida have done just the opposite. I mean, we said from the beginning, we're supporting the people that wear the uniform. We're going to make sure that our streets are safe, and we're going to make sure that we back those who are doing that. So when they were removing funding from law enforcement in 2020 in places like Seattle and Minneapolis and all these places, we did $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement and firefighter in the entire state of Florida. I mean, that's just what we're doing.